You're over.
Of course.
Easy now.
Butterfingers.
Here we go.
So I just got done watching the Giants' 3-10 loss to the New York Jets, the other team that we allow to rent a room in our basement. Again, it's preseason. There's not a whole lot you're able to really get into here. It's the backups of the backups that are coming in here into play and trying to earn a spot on the roster. There were some things in this game, particularly, I mean, right off the bat, it looks like Giants are in mid-season form with that kickoff return. Like that can't happen. I mean, obviously it's going to happen sometimes, but it can't happen as frequently as it happens with the New York Giants. I feel like that's always been an issue, and I understand that these are backups, but even our starters in the past, and I mean, I don't even know who's really going to be returning kicks for us this year, but that's something that just needs to be cleaned up. That needs to be cleaned up. If we're just handing the ball off to the opposing team every time we're receiving a punt or our defense gets a stop, that's just going to wear out our defense, limit time of possession, and we're just not a good enough team to be able to win that way. So seeing something like that first play, you're excited for the last preseason game. You want to see some of these guys that are really trying to make a roster, make a name for themselves, and then you just see that result within the first 10 seconds of the game. And I guess you can't really read too much into it too, because, like I said, this is the backups of the backups. So it's hard to make a judgment call on that. It's hard to excuse that result when it's just been so prominent in our past, and it's been so like noticeable. No matter, I mean, we're finally having a new special teams coordinator, but so hopefully this was just an anomaly. A lot of fumbles in last week's preseason game against the Texans as well. We just got to work on securing the football. Whenever you have the football in your hands, it's just, like I said, we can't survive that way. We cannot survive that way. And it worries me that, like I said, the more things change, the more things stay the same sometimes with this team. And even though we brought in a new special teams coordinator, I just hope this isn't going to be a recurring issue. Let's just say that. Another thing too is the tackling on defense. Tackling, I can't even tell you how many times I've seen the Giants, or like 2-3 Giants players, arms wrapped around a Jets running back, and they just shrug it off. They don't finish the tackle. They wrap around, and then they get kind of, their arms get fucking limp or whatever, and then just fucking run it in for a 40-50 yard fucking touchdown. That's inexcusable. You can't fucking have that shit. Because again, our team isn't good enough to win that way. Our secondary isn't good enough to win that way. Our starting secondary isn't good enough to win that way. So here's the deal. So if we're gonna give up passing yards, I can almost accept that. What I can't accept is that you can't make the tackle after the catch. That's inexcusable. It almost looks like these guys were like making business decisions out there when they're on the bottom of the roster in the second, third quarter of a third preseason game. Your odds aren't looking too fucking great. So make a name for yourself. Fucking wrap up. Fucking tackle. There were so many points. I mean, this was a pretty low scoring game in general, and it was mostly due to the quarterback play on the Jets than it really was anything for the Giants defense. It just seemed like some of these guys were making business decisions. Like, there was just no fire or fight in most of the guys on the bottom of the roster. And who knows, maybe it was because our starters were so trash in camp, and our new coaching staff saw that, and they're like, hey, we need to give more attention to our actual starters, and we weren't able to spend so much time with the bottom of the roster guys. And maybe that's where some of the issues came from. So, defensive tackling, okay, that's something we definitely need to clean up. Special teams, punt returns, kick returns, it's the most frustrating thing too, and I'll just say this before I move on to my next point, but we do get great runs. It's always like the Giants will have like a 30-40 yard punt kick return, but as soon as you see like anything good on the special teams, it's coming back either because there was some kind of a flag on the play, or we're just gonna fumble it. Instead of running out of bounds, instead of taking like the solid like 30-something yard return, you're going to try to be greedy, take more, and run it into 3 defenders, and they're going to strip the ball out. And it's beyond frustrating, and I'm trying not to get even that excited or upset about a preseason game, but there's so many question marks on this team, and it's already kind of hard to get excited with the amount of unknowns on this roster. And then when you see the glimpses you get of anything on the Giants, whether it be preseason, whether it be joint practices, it's just a lot of it is disappointing. And I just got to hope that come week 1 against the Vikings that we're a lot sharper, we're crisp, we have chemistry, there's continuity along the line. And speaking of the offensive line, a lot of these guys in the offense, a lot of these guys in the defense, they're not NFL players. They're going to be bagging groceries, getting shopping carts, driving for Uber Eats, whatever the fuck. They're going to be doing something else. They're not playing fucking football. They're not playing Giants football in the next few weeks. Probably at the end of the night. They're not going to be in the NFL anymore. And maybe some of them might be flipping burgers, Mr. Neal. I want to kind of emphasize patience over panic on this channel. I want to be optimistic about the Giants. I want to look at things in a rational way. And I always want to give players at least 3 years to prove themselves, to grow. I know the NFL is a totally different ball game than college football, and I totally understand that. So you always want to give your guys chances to adapt. Like, not everybody's like a Sauce Gardner, not everybody's who's a good offensive lineman. Like a Tristan Wirfs came out, was awesome, So Evan Neal was disappointing his first 2 years, and then you start hearing news about injuries and things were misdiagnosed and things weren't properly healed, and then you're starting to think, okay, well he wasn't great his first 2 years. He was actually downright horrible his first 2 years, but maybe those injuries were the catalyst to his woes and him not being able to grow as a player. And so you start making excuses for him in your head. You think maybe maybe if he is fully healthy and he's still not working out at right tackle, maybe you can move him into guard, like an Eric Flowers situation. Maybe he's not. He just can't handle the speed of being a tackle, but maybe he has the strength and leverage to be able to be a good guard in the NFL. And we got to see him play guard in the NFL tonight, and it was atrocious. Actually, I think at the start of the game I was feeling pretty optimistic about him, and he gave up that sack to Tommy, and he was missing blocking assignment. He looked like, and as big of a man that Evan Neal is, he looks like he gets pushed around like a toddler when he's anywhere on the offensive line, going up against backups of the backups of the backups of the Jets. Like, if there was any hope for you to be like some kind of a reserve backup guard, swing tackle, anything like that, tonight was a night that you could have made a case for yourself to be a guard, and you would think the level of competition you're going up against would have given you a solid opportunity to show not only the organization but the fan base that pick wasn't wasted. That 7th overall pick wasn't wasted, and you blew it.
You blew it!
You blew it, okay? Because from what I saw after the first few snaps, you just, as soon as the defensive lineman was able to kind of very, very quickly learn your tendencies, or I don't know, your style. I don't freaking know, but you were just getting abused out there, and it was making our quarterback and the rest of the offensive line suffer. And he's not the only one that was bad on the offensive line too. It was Josh Azudu, although he did have some good reps, especially that that Turbo Miller run. I believe it was Turbo Miller run near the beginning of the game. He had a really good blocking rep. But other than that, he was responsible for a lot of the pressure that Tommy DeVito was under as well. So I don't think our swing tackle's on the roster just yet. Like I said in my last video, I don't think our CB2 is currently on the roster. And now, after watching tonight, and again, preseason, I totally understand. I don't think our swing tackle is on the roster right now either. And so that's something that the Giants are definitely going to have to evaluate and take a look. Probably starting tonight, start looking at some of the players that are expected to not be carried on to the main 53 of these 32 other teams, and make some decisions. And I know I would definitely prioritize CB2 over a swing tackle, but yeah, Evan Neal's hopes of salvaging a career, and this might be too early. I get it, but with his comments towards the fans, his play on the field, his representation of the organization, I have no problem saying that I wouldn't mind if Evan Neal wasn't even on this team anymore. Because I'm not an Evan Neal fan. I'm not a New York Evan Neal fan. I'm a New York Giants fan, and I feel like the Giants are a worse product when Evan Neal is on the field rather than he's not. That's the truth. That's how I feel. And I think there's a lot of people out there that would agree with me. And if you can get something for Evan Neal, if you can trade him away for like I don't know, if you're able to sucker someone into like a 3rd round pick or 4th round pick, something like that, I would do it in a heartbeat. Or even for a player swap. Just talking about that Josh Azudu run blocking rep. This team is a better team when Turbo Miller is on the roster. That guy, he plays with a different speed. He plays with a different vision of the offensive line. He makes quick decisions, and even if he doesn't make a quick decision, he has the speed to make up that reaction time. I think he was averaging close to 5 yards a carry tonight. Just seemed like the ball was moving when he was on the field. Josh Kelly also looked pretty good too, and I know there were some reps that were kind of left on the field with balls batted down and stuff, but you know, he definitely was a solid contributor. But yeah, I mean, Turbo Miller, I want him on the 53. He brings a different element to this team, an element that we don't have in that running back room. I mean, I wouldn't even mind to see, you know, put him out there at punt return, at kick return. Because that dude he just moves different with the ball in his hands. And I'm glad that the New York Giants were able to pick him up in the offseason. He's actually a rookie that had some, qualifying issues, so he actually wasn't able to go into the draft, but we ended up picking him up as a rookie free agent. But I guess that's really all I wanted to talk about in this game. Again, preseason, my evaluations of just watching the game, and not being in any of those meeting rooms, not seeing, what's going on behind the scenes at this time of the year. It's hard to make a judgment call, but I really am optimistic about this team this year. Even though I have my concerns watching preseason games, I'm still very optimistic about this team. And I think that we're probably a lot better than some people give us credit for. I do think that we have a lot of big holes and major positions, like a cornerback position. Daniel Jones, I'm rooting for the guy, but I would be lying to you if I said he wasn't a question mark as well. In our offensive line health, and even something like linebacker 2, right besides Bobby Okereke. But I think that once the team builds the chemistry, builds the confidence, maybe week 1, I'm not sure how the Viking secondary is looking right now. I know they signed Stephon Gilmore. And he's most likely going to be on Malik Neighbors. But I think if the Giants are able to come out week 1, put up some points, build some confidence, I think that would be the most ideal, or not just ideal, but I think that would be the best case scenario for them to build, the belief that they would be able to go up against the teams in that rougher stretch of the first part of our year. But anyway, guys, I'm going to leave it there. Appreciate you guys, hanging out this long. If you did, if you disagree with me, leave me a comment. If you like the video, give it a thumbs up, consider subscribing, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace.